He brought y'all some soul food from Mississippi. Derek Johnson, come on out, Derek. All right, fam. Next up, y'all have seen, who saw the movie House Party? Who saw Boomerang? Who saw that movie with the white boxer and Sam Jackson and the black boxer? That was like Mayweather, Conor McGregor. The Great White Height. You've seen his brother's movie. You saw Django? He was a producer on Django. He is the visionary behind this project. He is the director. He's the producer. He's the HNIC. He is from St. Louis, graduate of Harvard. Put your hands together for Reggie Hudlin. Come out with that Hollywood pimp walk. The next person, you've seen this brother play Jackie Robinson. He'll be starring in the movie Black Panther. Unfortunately, he's not here. He has a video. Chadwick Boseman! Man, these niggas are about to run out of here if I play the video. I got y'all on that video. I got y'all on that video. First off, we were backstage, and every 5 minutes, y'all shouted, y'all were laughing, y'all reacted, And Reggie was like, what are they doing? I'm like, fool, they watching the movie. How'd y'all like Marshall? Reggie, I want to start with you. Is that the reaction you always dreamed of when you decided that you wanted to make this movie?
First of all, thank you all for having us here. And thank Howard for making great men like Thurgood Marshall and like Chadwick Boseman. Who's going to follow in their footsteps? All right. What you saying, Roland?
Was their reaction? See, you're getting old. You forgot the question.
Look,
was that the reaction when you thought about this film, when you wanted to make this film, to visualize that type of response when those final credits rolled up, how they responded?
Honestly, it was bigger than I expected, and you guys just really you made my night, you made my week just now.
Before he even saw you.
No, I mean, yeah, just your response to the movie, because you get it. You got it on every level, and I really appreciate you, and I'm grateful for the love, because you know you make a movie with blood. You know, you put your blood, sweat, and tears in it, and you put it out there, and you hope people respond to it the way you all did. So, look, as far as I'm concerned, I'm a success because of what just happened tonight. So thank you.
Chadwick, rumor has it in the Barack Obama movie, you're going to play Barack Obama too. I don't know if there's any more black historical figures you cannot play. James Brown, Jackie Robinson, you played a light-skinned Thurgood Marshall. Reggie said all the light-skinned actors in Hollywood mad as hell. They like, that was the one movie we had.
It's Reggie's fault. It's not my fault.
They are mad.
So Chad, talk about the fact that, again, if you take Jackie Robinson, you take James Brown, Thurgood Marshall is, and you'll be in Black Panther when his movie is in 2018, but Thurgood Marshall is a real life superhero.
You know, I like to think about it in terms of how much work he had to do, especially at this time period in the NAACP, because he was the only attorney running around for them at that point. There wasn't a budget for, you know, a staff of attorneys. So if something was happening in Mississippi and he couldn't get there because he was dealing with something in Birmingham and Columbia, Tennessee, then that person basically ended up, you know, not being able to get out of that trouble. So he was dealing with the same thing superheroes deal with. How can I save as many people as possible from disaster? And that's a superhero concept. How do I deal with time and space in a way that is not actually human? It's superhuman. And so that's what Thurgood Marshall had to deal with in that time period. And of course, later on, he had a staff of attorneys. He had people working in different places. But he had to spearhead this essentially the legal aspect of the civil rights movement.
Derek, when this movie opens up, one of the first things we see is that logo of the NAACP. And what's very interesting to me is when I talk to people, I was just slapping somebody on Twitter last week. It's a daily occurrence. And the brother's like, man, I don't want to hear anything about the NAACP. They're not doing anything. And then I began to talk about Reverend Dr. William Barber and what others are doing across this country. And I don't really think we look at
a Thurgood Marshall in that sort of superhero way. But that's really when he came to town, black folks literally greeting him like when you're watching Batman or one of those movies, like, here comes this brother to save the day.
Yeah, no.
That's what.
That's the reality of the NAACP today. The movie ended with a scene in Clarksdale, Mississippi. If you think about the NAACP and the work that Thurgood Marshall did, but the work that's going on now is in small towns and communities across the landscape. Just last week, Roland, we talked about a brother that was been in jail for 10 years without a hearing. Haven't been found guilty of anything, never had a hearing. It's the NAACP that's in Dothan, Alabama, supporting that case to get him out of jail because he's in pretrial detention. But also the work of Thurgood Marshall created a scenario where we elected a brother in Columbus, Mississippi to be a DA, and he released several people who had been sitting in jail without a hearing. One brother, 11 years without a trial. So the work of Thurgood Marshall then is still impacting us today as young people, as activists, as aspiring lawyers. We shouldn't run to where the lights are, because people see that problem in D.C. sometime or in the big cities. We have to go where the need is. And the need oftentimes is in rural, small communities across the landscape.
This is the third Q&A. Go right ahead. This is the third Q&A I've done with Reggie, 2 with Chadwick, first time with Derek. And so a lot of the questions we've gone over, and there are just so many different things I want to ask, but I want to lay out first. So Reggie, explain to folks why this is called Marshall.
It's called Marshall because this movie is a lot of different movies at once. On one hand, it's a legal thriller, right? Because you don't know if he did it or not, right? And then whether he did it or not, you don't know if they're going to convict him, innocent or guilty. So there's a lot of suspense. And, you know, that same thing, as you just said, that happened in 1941, that's happening in 2017. Those same challenges are the challenges we're facing today all over our country. So, you know, so it's a legal thriller, but at the same time, it's a Western. And Thurgood is the lawman. And the lawman rides into town, and he brings justice with him. And, you know, he handles his business, and he goes on to the next town. So it's all that. At the same time, it's kind of a buddy movie because you can't always do it by yourself. So he had to find allies. So he finds Sam Friedman. Do you guys like that character, Sam Friedman, that Josh Gad played? He's a great character. He wasn't looking for no trouble. He's just trying to do his thing. Maybe he'll let him in the country club one day. They ain't, but he can dream. He brought trouble that he wasn't looking for. And then he realized that's what his life was missing. Mission, purpose. And he couldn't go back. He couldn't go back to his old life because it didn't mean anything. Your life means something when you're doing something for others.
Chadwick, you have this character who has an amazing amount of swagger. Then again, he is an alpha man. I'm sorry, I just had to go. Thurgood Marshall, an alpha man. Don't hate because you couldn't get in. I had to slide that in. So I want you to talk about playing a character who is absolutely brilliant, who is, as Reggie said in the previous discussion, is the smartest man in the room. And what that means to this present-day audience to show that person who also is a superhero, that you can be that smart, that brilliant.
You know, for me, in order to play the role, I had to look at what are the circumstances that he's dealing with here. What are the stakes? And he's the guy who's going to go into a town where he knows people don't like him, they maybe want to kill him. I mean, he ended up in situations where he was nearly lynched. And he's the person who's going to go into those rooms and actually want the argument, actually have the grit, the balls to speak truth to power. You have to ask, who is that person? Where does that come from? They even tell, he even has like the ability to tell a story where he has one testicle. He only needs one. He only needs one to do this. So who is the person who has that swagger, who either is telling a lie, like that's a story I'm just telling you, or it's the real deal and I'm not afraid to do it? He's in the Harlem Renaissance. He has like the coolest friends. It's like he has, you know, Zora Neale Hurston and Langston Hughes as his friend. I mean, that's like having Rihanna and yeah, exactly. You got me. You got me. You got me. So that's what he's leaving in order to go do this thing. He's leaving this beautiful life in arguably the most cultured place in the world to go fight justice selflessly for people who don't have a voice. And he has to carry that same culture, that same energy, that same swagger into that space. And that's what he uses to do it. You know, you realize you're with the coolest person in the room. You realize you might be other alpha personalities in the room, but they all want to sit around and argue with it around him. You know, he's inherently a judge.
And Derek, that's I mean, it's really who he was. When he died, I was working in Austin at the Austin American Statesman, and I interviewed Congresswoman Barbara Jordan about him, and she said, here I was, the first black woman from the South elected to Congress since Reconstruction, and we would literally sit at his feet and just listen to his brilliance. And that's just how he was looked upon. The other piece is that he was a tactician in terms of the NAACP, the lawyers, Legal Defense Education Fund, and speak to what a lot of folks may not realize, that the legal work they did, and I want you and Reggie to speak to this, the legal work they did, they actually created law. They just didn't argue the law. They literally created law as a result of their cases. Derek and Reggie.
But, you know, the beautiful thing about a HBCU, the goal is to build critical thinkers. And as a lawyer, we learn quickly that the law is not stagnant, it's fluid. And it's always evolving. That's why it's called the practice of law. And one of the things as young people, we have to get away from the emotions or the reactions of things and begin to think about the outcomes that we desire. Give you a quick example. I always get beat up for this one. Ferguson was a failure. Selma, Alabama was a failure. Why? Because in a 67% town, you had an incident that happened, people reacted, a lot of emotions. The next election, the same people who were in power were still in power. Selma was a failure. 2 marches, people got beat across the bridge, 70% black cities, Selma, Alabama. Mayor Smitherman was the mayor in 1965. He was the mayor until 2000. Reacting with protests may be necessary, but it's not sufficient. A critical thinker like Thurgood Marshall understands the difference between what's necessary, even when it's not sufficient, so they start working for outcomes that were sufficient to make the change that they were seeking.
I feel that, you know, if you're going to add another face on the Mount Rushmore, it would be Thurgood Marshall. Because It's one thing to write the Constitution, to write the Bill of Rights, right? That's the dream of America. That's the blueprint, the concept of America. But it was always flawed because of racism, because of slavery. The reason why we have an electoral college was to make the slaveholders happy. So the very idea of one man, one vote was undermined from the very creation of our nation. What Thurgood Marshall did in his efforts as an attorney and as a Supreme Court justice was to take the idea of America and make it a reality. His fight for true democracy, true justice for all men are created equal, makes him one of the greatest Americans who ever lived.
Before I go to questions, Reggie, tell folks, people always ask, how movies get made. Tell them about the meeting you had with the Chinese investors who said, sure.
Well, I mean, again, you have to put this in context. When we wanted to make this movie, we took it to every movie studio in Hollywood. They all said, nah, we're good, we pass, not interested.
Sounds like Hollywood.
Right. So then someone said, well, I know this investment group that may be interested. I said, great, who are they? They said, they're Chinese. Now, my entire career, which is longer than all of your lives, is I have been told that black films don't travel overseas. Now, I know that was a lie, but I've been told it over and over again. So I said, wait, you're going to say there's Chinese investors who are going to pay for a movie about a black man in 1940 fighting for racial justice? And you know what? I met with them. I talked, the translator translated. They talked, the translator translated again. We shook hands. I walked away. I said, I don't know what just happened. But it seemed they were smiling. The money was in the bank. So the moral is, don't listen to conventional wisdom. People will tell you, well, this is the way it is and you can't change it. Question authority, fight back. All that is solid melts into air. If you had asked me 5 years ago, could you make a theatrical motion picture about Thurgood Marshall, I would say impossible. Yet here we all are here today. So take no shorts and accept no is the beginning of the negotiation.
All right. Now we're going to go to questions. We have ground rules. Ground rule 1, ask a question. If you're long-winded, I will cut you off as if we are at Hampton. If you get long-winded, I got more social media followers than you, and I will put you on Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, and Facebook, and all your friends and family will see your long-winded question. Those are the ground rules. She already clutching her pearls. I'm gonna go ahead and start with you. Name, where you're from, your question.
Good evening.
Speak right into the microphone.
Hello. Good evening, everyone. How's everyone doing today?
Keep speaking right into the microphone.
I think it's on.
It's on.
It's on? Y'all can hear me?
Baby, we can't hear you.
Hello? Hey?
Y'all act like my knees don't work. Girl, you better ask your question, stop taking a selfie. Ask your question. I got the microphone. Put your hands down. I got it. Okay, you ready? Give me your phone. I will take the selfie while you ask the question. Ask your question.
Okay. Good evening. Thank you for coming here. I've been looking forward to seeing this movie since I've seen the trailer. Chadwick, I have a question for you. Thank you for coming here. Welcome back to
Girl, will you get to this question? Y'all got class. Let's go.
Okay.
Ask a question. Ask a question.
He's laughing at me now. You're embarrassing.
Ask the question.
My question for you is, what is your process when you're selecting a film? Do you look at the script, read it, like, I love it, I'm in, or do you ask a bunch of questions? Who's the producer? Who's the director? What makes you say yes to a film?
Zeros. Go ahead.
I mean, it's different. It's different for each one in terms of how the script came to you. It could be, it came from somebody you don't know. In this case, I knew it was coming from Reggie, right? And my agent also has had a long relationship in the business with Paula Wagner, the producer. So, the script came to me with like the stamp, you need to read this. Right? And I didn't want to read it because it was about a real person. And I've already done that. But I knew Reggie, and so that got me to the point where I was like, I'm engaged. And I think I'm trying to answer it like as completely as possible, because I'm trying to say that you should say no to most stuff. You should say no to most things because there's something for you at a particular time. So that's first off. Number two, once I read it, it had something special about it. And for me, that thing was the fact that he's gagged. Like, I thought when I'm reading, they want me to play Thurgood Marshall, I'm gonna have like all these like long courtroom speeches that you always get when you play an attorney, and then I get to a certain point and I'm like, wait a minute, I don't get to talk. And I was gonna call him immediately at that point and be like, you gave me a Thurgood Marshall movie where I can't talk in the courtroom. But I kept reading, and I understood that, it's like being a boxer and have your arms tied behind your back. That's a challenge. Now, how are we gonna deal with that? And that's kind of what you're looking for. You're looking for something that's not just an ordinary story, where you can show. Especially for me, I would like to say I like to see Black men portrayed in ways that you haven't seen. Like I just did a movie where I'm from South Africa, and it just came out. I didn't just do it, but I have a bike chain, and I'm beating people up with it. You never seen that. Never seen a Black man run around and do that. So I was like, that's interesting. This is the same thing. He's gagged, and it was just a well-written script. I knew this was a case that people didn't know, and if it was Brown versus Board of Education, I wouldn't have done it, because we know the ending of that story. So,
Plus, Sidney Poitier already played that part.
And he already did it. So, do you really want to be compared to Sidney Poitier? They know you want to do your own thing.
Yep.
So, for me, after I read it and then I talked to him, I still had a couple of things that I didn't like about it, or I wasn't sure about. I wasn't sure about whether I should do it because I didn't look like Thurgood Marshall. We had a whole long debate about that, with me on the other side of the argument, basically. Mm-hmm. And so he convinced me that this was a singular story. We're not doing the cradle to the grave version of this story. So therefore, how does it fit in this film? Is Thurgood Marshall a man that tried to pass? Clearly not. He wasn't passing. I mean, everybody knows what I mean when I say that. Passing in that society. He was furthering the African American experience. He was deepening our roots here by giving us new freedoms. So he's not passing. So that's not part of this story. It's not part of it. Mm-hmm. If it had been a cradle to grave version, it would have been. So for me, it was just going through that process and making sure that I had checked off all the boxes for myself that I wanted, that we could collaborate together. So we collaborated some on the script. And then I knew it was something I should do. And there's always one thing that comes to me that it's from the character before I start playing it. Like, I'll do something, like I'll go rent a truck or something, and I don't drive trucks. You know, the character does that. So it was a thing that was part of Thurgood Marshall's character that came through to me before I actually made the decision. So it meant I was already playing a role before I actually accepted it.
Question.
My name is Christian Jordan Ellis. I was born in Detroit, Michigan, raised in Virginia, mostly.
You gonna give your bio? I'm messing with you. I'm messing with you.
Howard and
I'm messing with you. Ask your question.
All right. Well, I'm an actor too. I'm a criminology major, and I actually hope to become a civil rights lawyer. But I do act. Yeah. I do act, and I just was wondering, Chadwick, and I guess Reggie, you could have some input on this. To what extent, if any, do you feel that your blackness is tokenized in the roles that you get, and in the same way, to what extent in movies, especially black movies, do you feel that there is the need for the white protagonist, the Josh Gad or the Christoph Waltz for Django? You know what I mean? And that's not to antagonize Hollywood or anything.
We got it.
But do you think at any point we will be able to get past that if it exists at all?
I can't hear the end of the question.
Which and to what extent do you feel that there is a need for a white protagonist? So like the Josh Gad, the Christoph
Okay.
Waltz.
We're going to start there. Josh Gad is not the protagonist.
He is a protagonist.
Huh?
I was saying he's a protagonist.
Nope, there's only one protagonist in the film. And that in a film. And that was the key reason why we did certain things in the film. So for me, what makes him the protagonist is that you're following his version of the case. It's not Josh Gad that's directing traffic in the courtroom. Thurgood Marshall is the catcher calling the play. He's the coach from the sidelines. Josh Gad doesn't know how to try a criminal case, or Sam Friedman. So for us, I think for us, that was the key component. We wanted to make sure that the movie was named Marshall, not Sam Friedman and Marshall. You know, because the initial script was called Sam Friedman, right?
Well, no, the sound was called The Trial of Joseph Spell.
Right.
So, and that was and when I first read the script, I'm like, no. If you making a movie with Thurgood Marshall in it, the star of the movie is Thurgood Marshall. And we're going to call it Marshall because that's what he is. He's the marshal who comes to town.
And Reggie, but you also established that from the moment he's at the train station, get my bags. Mm-hmm. I mean, so to your point, Chadwick, from that point, it's clear who's in charge.
Right.
And he's telling him the whole way, you will do this. Not what you got to say about it.
Right. I want to make sure I get to his first question, which is now when you say this, are you specifically talking about my blackness?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I don't feel that way. I don't feel that I've ever been tokenized in a film. And let me tell you the reason why. But the reason why is in order for me to be the token, I would have to be the black guy that they added. Mm-hmm. Correct? Right, I'm the star of the film, bro. I played Black Panther, and they added me in Civil War, but then what happened? I got my own film. So, I'm the protagonist. Next question.
Basically, he was just like, okay, question.
Hello, it's not working.
I got you, don't worry about it.
Wait, we can hear you.
I can see that headline tomorrow on the Hilltap. Chadwick ain't a token. I got you.
Okay, thank you.
I got you.
Nobody.
Thank you.
I got you.
Hello, my name is Rachel Howell. I'm a freshman political science major and community development minor from Atlanta, Georgia. So my question is, as you prepared for this role and you studied Thurgood Marshall's determination and perseverance to justice, how has this experience contributed to your vision for young Black Americans today?
You know, I haven't had the chance, first of all, and that's part of this. This experience, seeing you see the film, right? That, start backwards, gives me an enormous amount of like, y'all are educated film goers, right? And that's an important aspect of this. Like any art form, people have to be educated on how to enjoy it, no matter what it is. Hip hop, theater, opera, jazz. People have to be educated. So what I love when I see this response to the film is we've come to a renaissance to a certain degree right now in Black film, and I'm comfortable enough to say that, right? Because it's been happening, but for a long time I was like, I'm kind of scared to say that because I'm scared it's gonna stop happening. And so doing this film, you know, has been an amazing experience because just getting to see how one person's life could affect everyone. And I think about the fact that, you know, I'm doing what I can do right now, but while this information is going out and while people are receiving it well, not just Black people, but people of all races, this is the perfect time for young minds to come to things that we weren't able to come to. So it's just a beautiful time because the renaissance of a thing means that it's going to continue to grow. No matter who's in office, no matter what's going on, what's happening artistically, invariably always affects things politically and socially.
Reggie, how did Ben Crump, Sabrina Fulton, Tracy Martin, how did that happen, that come about?
Well, I was thinking about the end of the film and thinking about who to cast, the last two people we meet in the movie. And it was an important part. And I could have cast some local actors. They would have done a fine job, but it seems like a wasted opportunity. And I could have gone for some celebrities, called up some big names to do me a favor, make a guest appearance. And that would have been shiny, but it wouldn't have been deep. So when I came up with the idea of calling Trayvon's parents, at first I went to Chad. I said, Chad, I got this idea. And I told him, I said, what you think?
I was like, are you crazy? You better go do that as quick as you can.
So I called Benjamin Crump, their attorney. He loved the idea. Of course, he's, you know, massively inspired by Thurgood Marshall. You can tell by the work he does as an attorney in the field today. And he said, look, and you got to have Z. Alexander Luby in there because Z. Alexander Luby was the Thurgood Marshall of the South. And they worked together a lot on cases. And in fact, one time when Thurgood Marshall was about to be lynched, Luby followed them and saved Thurgood's life. So I said, you know what? That's
a good movie, man.
That's a good, right. So I said, yes.
Great movie.
All of y'all come down. And let me tell you something.
And Thurgood said if he ever got in trouble, that's the attorney he wanted representing him.
Excuse me?
Thurgood said when he got in trouble anytime, that's the attorney.
Exactly. That Z. Alexander Luby was Thurgood's go-to man if he ever got in trouble. So it was great. Not everybody's going to know all that history, but it's there. All the layers are there for those who want to know it. So it was a very inspiring moment because those two people are so courageous the way they carry themselves with dignity and strength, with a loss I cannot fathom. Just being with them, I thought about my own children, and I thought, God, if I ever lost my children like they lost their son, after I finished killing everybody, I don't know what I would do. Because I would kill everybody. So their courage inspired the entire cast and crew that way. I think took us all to that next level.
Question.
Hi, I have a question for Mr. Boseman. My name's Kayla. I'm a musical theater student. Arts.
Y'all and the shout outs.
Fine arts. So my question was along the lines of how you've had the opportunities to play our heroes and our superhero. And how do you apply what you've learned at this institution and through the theater program to your performance today?
I'll go backwards. I'm proud to say that I had some of the best teachers in the world here. Vera Katz, Felicia Rashad. Y'all know Felicia Rashad taught here. Of course you know that, right? At one point in time. Okay. Henrietta Edmonds. George Epstein. Is he here? Oh my gosh. Oh man, that's right. Al Freeman. They were amazing. They were amazing teachers. Sybil Roberts Williams. I have studied in different places, and I would say that what I got here, there was one point where a group of us went over to Oxford and studied from here, and we were amongst all the other grad schools and undergraduate schools studying in Oxford, and they were like, "These Howard students are amazing," right? But the teachers we had here were as good as the ones over there. We were just studying different classics. We were over there. We were studying Shakespeare, Beckett, Pinter, Greek tragedies. Here, we were studying our grades. We were studying our grades, and we viewed that as classics as well. That's what, to me, studying at Howard is about. And so, because when you get out, you're not going to be playing white roles. You're going to be playing you. Even if the character was written for somebody white, you're not going to be white when you play it.
Yes.
Right? So here you learn how to be you. I think it's the advantage of studying at a historically black college with really great teachers. So to me, if you ask the question, that's what I carry into, what you're getting from here, what you're having to study here. That's just as important. So you have to know that, because when you get out, everybody's going to tell you that Western society, Western classics is what determines whether you're trained or not, determines whether you're intelligent or not. And you should know everything, but that's what I carry. I don't know why I get to play our heroes. I don't know that. I'm blessed. At the end of the day.
Thank you.
We got 2 more questions. Don't y'all get mad at me. Don't y'all get mad at me. Oh, look at you. Don't, hey, I ain't running the show. They told me I got 2 more questions, unless Reggie or Chadwick overrules them. What's your question?
Alrighty. Yeah.
Let
I'm sorry. All right. Hi, my name is Jewel from Charlotte, North Carolina, and I'm a painting major. So I have a question for Chadwick. As a member of the Black art community, I find myself going to school, trying to find internships, staying on track. But it can be discouraging when I see so many people either making it without formal education or graduating only to not to find opportunities in their artistic fields. In relation to your Howard education, what do you believe separates you from those who make it and those who don't? Do you have any tips for those of us in fine arts?
That was a paragraph you wrote. I got you. All right, Chadwick, what you got?
I couldn't hear. There was an echo, so I couldn't hear.
No, it's a paragraph question. What tips do you have how to separate, say it again, how to separate yourself from those who make it, those who don't?
Based on your education, how do you separate yourself?
Actually,
That's a hard question to ask.
Actually, it's pretty easy.
Huh? Okay, genius.
No, I answered. No, I'll answer. The way you separate yourself from those who make it, those who don't, it's called work ethic.
Yeah.
No, straight up. The question is, are you willing to put the time in? Are you willing to put it in? Are you willing to give up going clubbing? Are you willing to give up going somewhere, a road trip? Do you put it in? That's what separates it. You show me any successful person, I can guarantee you work ethic separates them from those who did not make it.
See, and I was going to try to go into the industry, but he said it. That's it.
It's the truth.
It is the definite truth.
I mean, when I started as a filmmaker, I'm from East St. Louis. There we go.
She like, we got out.
There is no black film community in East St. Louis, right? You just doing something. There was no path for me to get to Hollywood other than figure it out. I would buy Variety every week, and I would read it. And I didn't understand what I was reading. It could have been in a foreign language. And I just kept reading it until the words started to make sense to me. And I took whatever job would give me access to a camera so I could make movies. Now, the difference between me and now is all those things are available to you. That you can make a movie on your phone in your pocket right now that looks good, as good or better than the equipment I had to rent. You already own it in your pocket. Also in your pocket is a computer, also attached to your phone, where you can read all the film scripts in the world. You can see tutorials on the great movies and how they are made. You can listen to great directors talk about their process. There's literally a universe of information in your pocket right now. So you have more information than we ever had. So with the information in your hand, with the resources to make a movie in your hand, the question is, what are you gonna do?
Let me just say this one thing, because it definitely is about the work. But I have to say that you don't do this for the wrong reasons. That's why it's actually difficult for me to answer the question, because I don't even think about it like that. You don't do it for the wrong reasons. You don't decide you want to be an actor because you want fame and fortune. You want to be seen getting out of cars. You don't do it for that reason. Because if you do it for that reason, you can't do what you asked. Truthfully, there are a lot of really good people in the business, and most of them, I would say that almost 95% of them, they love what they do. They do it because they love it, or else you wouldn't do it. It's too hard. So that's the first thing. If you don't love it when you're not making money, then you definitely ain't gonna love it when you are making money.
Question. Y'all want to flip a coin?
I'll ask the question.
Go ahead. Let's go.
So, my name is Anestin Dante Petit Home. I'm half Haitian, half Jamaican. I'm from Durham, North Carolina, by way of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. TV film major, theater arts minor. My question for you is, As you said, to be an established actor, you need to be able to measure your success and your success alone and build on this. How do you evaluate your success within your role that we just saw today? And also, could you talk about the challenges of drastically changing your appearance and what you did for this movie?
You know, for me, to be honest with you,
Yeah.
I don't even look at that and say that's success. My success came when we walked off the set, right? I already got everything I can get from it. You know, I changed my life to do it, and I finished it. That's success. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Mike.
I'm not waiting on them. I'm really not waiting on you to tell me it was a success, because I know what I went through. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, what's the second part of the question?
Changing your appearance.
You know, I think that's just part of, in some cases, it's just part of playing, of going through the process. For me, it usually is some sort of physical change, gaining weight, you know, changing your hair, changing your athleticism, whatever it is. I enjoy doing that process. Everybody doesn't necessarily enjoy doing it, but it's, you know, for me, it's a therapeutic thing of finding another part of myself.
Thank you.
She's trying to get some extra stuff. So she want to ask a question on behalf of the law school. All right, so here's the deal, okay? It needs to be, really? Boy. Ooh, all right, so I need you to ask a quick question. A quick, I need everybody to be, come on, quick. Girl, go.
Hi, my name's Tiffany Diamo. I'm a 2L at Howard Law. My question is for you, Chadwick. Law school is very involved. So did you have to pour over in case books, or how did your preparation for the role change your understanding of the law and how it should be applied?
Ooh, y'all don't have no questions for him?
I was trying to throw something that way.
I know. I'm like, you know, for me, it was more so an appreciation. I wouldn't say change my understanding, because I feel like I've had enough experiences with the law that I feel like I know it to a certain degree. And I'm not saying I've been to jail. I'm not saying that. But I have a big family. So, but an appreciation, and I think the most important part of it for me was just seeing and reading. Number one, how many court cases Thurgood Marshall won on the Supreme Court. It's like his win record in the Supreme Court is like 28 out of 32. It's insane. 29. Thank you. It's insane. It's insane. I thought I might be off. I thought I might be off a little, but 29 out of 32. It's insane. And seeing the idea of losing in order to win, to lose on the lower courts, to get it to a higher place where you can actually win the argument. I have an appreciation for that, because none of us like to lose. You know, so going through that process and what does that do to a person's mentality and their ego in getting to that place where they can actually argue that case? How do you hold on to something you've been arguing for a long time? I have a great appreciation for those things.
And of course, they argued many of those cases. The practice runs were here on the campus of Howard University Law School, and then the following week took them to the Supreme Court. Now we're about to do something. So I want you to stay in your seats, and so y'all come on out. Come on out. So we're about to take a mass selfie. It is so, now remember, the movie's going to open October 13th. And so go ahead, and we want to arrange how we're going to do this here. So we're going to take a couple. So we want you on stage right there. Okay. All right. You want them in the seats, or do you want them? Everybody stand up. I want you to stand up. Okay. I want you to. Okay. Follow me here. If you are down here, you will not be seen. We need depth. I went to school for this stuff. So you can be in the aisle there, you can be in the aisle there. And so that's how we're going to do it. You can fill in the aisles, but if you get down here, they're not going to be able to see you. Okay. No, that's the projector. So if we can do this.
You guys.
Hold on, let me see here. Let me see. I got it. You just want them in it? I got you. You got it?
Okay. 1, 2, 3.
You can't bring the camera.
Okay, let me get everybody. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, one more with this one.
All right.
Okay. Okay, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay.
Don't move. Give me the camera. This is what happened. Let go. This is what happened when you got your own show. I got it. All right, we're almost done. I got it. I got this. Here we go. Real simple. Here we go. We're recording. All y'all gonna say it's real simple. All you gonna say, this is TV1. Go see Marshall! Not you.
Thank you.